The 2026 BMW M5 Touring in Storm Bay Metallic over red and black, full merino leather. The Supercar wagon is all new from last year, and I'm glad that we finally receive it in North America. Going against Audi, going against Mercedes, but it's a full PHEV only variant, which increases the horsepower more so than the prior M5. I'm Anthony from Supercar Throttle, and this generation actually loses horsepower on the full ICE by 40 horsepower. You're gonna lose that 0 to 60 about 0.2 to 0.4 seconds slower, and these are according to BMW spec numbers. But what's special about this vehicle is you're getting great MPG ease when you're using that PHEV system, and how dynamic it looks in the front with the reworked kidney grille. This has the glow that's going to be around it because of the executive package, and it brushes into your standard Shadowline LED headlights and daytime runnings. The lower is all opened up, which can be a con because there's no screens to protect engine components. But you can get an aftermarket, which I still think it looks aggressive just because of rock chips and road work all over North America. That is something I would take in consideration. And all the safety is encased in that kidney grille for the driver assist package, which include the driving assist professional, the lane changing assist, partial automatic driving, and traffic jam assist with 5 inches of clearance. Now, why do I say it's a supercar wagon? Because of what's housed underneath the hood. It's a 4.4 liter BMW M-Power turbocharger. This is a twin turbo V8. The ICE is producing 577 horsepower with 553 pound-feet of torque. The hybrid adds 194 horsepower with 207 pound-feet of torque, giving us a combined of 717 horsepower, 738 pound-feet of torque, reaching 60 at 3.5 seconds, up to 124 miles per hour in 11.1 seconds, 155 mile per hour top speed, but we have the optional M-Driver package, which unlocks the 190 mile per hour speed, achieving 54 MPGEs with the electric and the ICE mix, with a charging time at 2 hours at a level 2 charger or 240 volt. 13 MPGs combined is when you are on the gas only, with a max range around 270 miles. And with all that power, you need a good 50-50 weight distribution. They capture it by 2 ways. Rear axle steering, which will basically give you that 50-50, and it's also already dynamically sound at a 52.2 47.8 weight distribution. Now, it has increased weight over the prior gen to over 5,500 pounds, but I don't see how that's a con because I'm getting over 50 MPGEs combined. We have a staggered wheel setup, a 285 40/20 up front, 295 35/21 out back, the red brake calipers, that's a vented disc. The red brakes, they're housing 6 pistons in the front. The disc is at 16.1 inches or 409 millimeters. The rear is vented with a single floating caliper, and it's a 15.7 inch disc reading. Now, if you option the M carbon ceramic brakes, that will lower 55 pounds to the vehicle. So just something to take in consideration if you are optioning one of these. You can drive full electric up to 87 miles per hour. So now put into the equation luxury, performance, and supercar lifestyle that you could drive every single day. That's just a touch over 132 grand. Where are you gonna get this? Because when you go into the RS6 Avant, that can go up to 150 to 160 grand really quickly because you gotta option a ton of features. With the BMW, that's not the case. The same thing with the Mercedes AMG, and they don't have a 63 variant. So you know what that means? It's AMG enhanced. And for those that's trying to disqualify the wagon, 200.6 inches long. It's the same as the sedan, so you can't really knock it there unless you just don't like the styling of a wagon. The rear is going to get the lower roof spoiler, standard LED taillights, and the lower gets the most aggressive exit with quad exhaust tips, a diffuser, reverse parking sensors, a 360-degree reverse camera. And because it's a wagon, you can use these roof rails, so it's a little bit more practical if you're at that $130,000 MSRP. But even going against the competition, you know what you're getting when you're spending over 6 figures for a supercar wagon. So is this better than the M5 that it replaced? I wish that they had 2 different variants. That's the only thing that I would say. It's not necessarily better, but it is awesome that we're getting the wagon. But if we had like an M5 competition, which had that 617, bump it up to 715 horsepower just as an ICE variant, I think that that would really slot in as the best vehicle that BMW makes, because this, it's a PHEV, most people are not expecting to get a PHEV when it comes to a full M. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you're new to the channel, click the subscribe, click the like, because all these clicks help with the algorithm so we can bring more performance vehicles to the channel. Power liftgate, and the reason why you buy a wagon, 10.7 cubic feet more than the sedan at 27.2 cubic feet. Just like an SUV, you have 46 inches from side to side, which is nearly 4 feet to enter, and top to bottom at 37 inches or just over 3 feet. Have it as 2 different folds, and it goes slow because it's on the carpet. You can have a 12 volt, you have a bag holder here, a little storage nook, and as well as here with LED interior lights, and then some more storage that's going to be underneath the floor, giving us a front to back at 41 3/4 inches, a side to side at 45 inches, and BMW does it correct because the levers are right here to pull down at a 40-20-40 split, or in this case a 60-40 split. That's going to maximize cargo to 67 cubic feet of storage, which is over 6 feet. You have 75.5 inches from front to back. But we need to go inside, start up this thing so you can hear that exhaust note. .50 to 60. I mean, you heard everything outside. I believe it. I think it is super quick. I like the fact that it is so high off the ground. And I enjoy the drive to it too because it's a lot more smooth. Look at the dynamics. And check the exit. It's a little rocket ship, and I understand people might say it's not little by any means, over 5,500 pound curb weight, 200.6 inches long, but it doesn't feel that long. And it doesn't feel heavy when I'm mashing on the gas. And it's something that I could drive every single day, so I appreciate that because I have a supercar, and let's face it, when you have a supercar, you can't really drive these vehicles every single day. They're a lot more harder to drive because the clearance sucks, and they're tight inside. This can be a family vehicle. It's track ready. You could go on a picnic with it. I mean, what freaking world do you live in that you could do all of these things? If I want to take out my MC20 Cello, I literally have to take another car in order to enjoy having friends with me because I can only fit one occupant. Here, that's not the case. Plus, it's a smooth drive, which is not usually the case when it comes into performance variants, especially with BMW. They're usually the most rigid suspensions. This is very comfortable. The steering, it is a bit numb to the road, so whenever you're taking some bends, you're not gonna feel it so much. When you're at a slower speed, it's gonna feel a little bit more heavy, but the rear axle steering makes it a lot more light in the sense of getting in and out of parking, especially tightening up that 50-50 weight distribution. 6 pistons in the front, single floating caliper in the rear. Only thing I would do different is maybe, if I'm gonna take this on the track, get the carbon ceramic brakes, lower 55 pounds. Sound deadening with a staggered wheel setup. It isn't that bad. The comfort though blows me away. I don't like how you have to go into the infotainment screen in order to get the 8-way power seat adjustment. Otherwise, I think it's pretty decent for what it's worth. And you can see what I mean, like you barely touch the wheel and it's moving over. You have the adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, steering assist, and it goes for about 0.2 to 0.3 miles. The cool thing here though is when you use your indicator and you touch the steering wheel, you let go, it will go into that lane for you. I think that's an awesome feature, and I was able to capture it on this review. I've engaged it in hybrid so you can see the difference between the ICE and the mixture of the two. Turn radius at a stop point more or less is gonna get about a lane and apart. Let's rock and roll. Now, another reason why I engage the hybrid there is so that way you can see the lag that comes into play. That would be basically your daily driving, so you got to see the performance drive to it. When you use the paddle for the boost, you have about 10 seconds of full power, and that starts at 20 to 90 miles per hour, which is a con to me because you don't get the full potential of what's underneath the hood of the vehicle. Plus, we lose 40 horsepower opposed to the M competition that we had prior. So there's a few quirks to the vehicle. I hate to say it that way, but I mean, it is what it is. They could have made it where it is just raw performance, and that's why I think having two different variants like an ICE and a PHEV would have been a home run for the vehicle. But as it sits for $132,000-ish, you get a lot of bang for your buck, a daily driver that's smooth, luxury that's captured in the interior, plenty of technology. They don't necessarily go over the top. It's a quiet drive for the most part as long as you're in sport or dynamic mode. But when you're in hybrid, I mean, you're gonna hear the engine cut on and cut off, and you're going to hear a little bit more road noise. Practical at this price point, I would say yes, but let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Check out this next video right here.